from my thesis titled The Influence of Language on the Way of Processing Information During Categorical Perception. So the objects we meet in real life are different in the way of their connection with its labels. For some objects we know labels like dandelion, for example, and actively use them. While for other objects we do not know exact labels and use a general referent as a blunt or relatively long descriptions. And the goal of our work is to investigate how the category labels influence the search performance when we need to find a target among the structures for which we know or do not know the exact labels for. For example, if we need to find a dandelion in a field, where a search would be more effective among known or unknown plants. From the previous studies, we know that categorical information could guide visual search. It was shown for colors and for real-world objects. For example, Elinsky and the colleagues showed that searching for a teddy bear among other real-world objects, participants fixate a target earlier and less distractors are fixated than it was expected by the random search. And the authors who investigate the categorical effect in visual search usually refer to Duncan and Humphreys' approach to explain the intended effects. According to this approach, the search would be more effective when distractors are similar to each other and the target is dissimilar to them. And distractors could be similar not only by the visual features, but also by a category they belong to. And hypothetically, the presence or absence of labels could be also used to group distractors together. And other studies show that if a target would be accompanied by its label, either by presentation on the screen like in Smith and colleagues study, or by active pronunciation like in Lugan and colleagues study, the presence of labels will improve search performance. So we hypothesized that the labeled target would be found faster if it is located among non-labeled distractors, and in a special condition where there is two labeled targets on the screen, but one of them is surrounded by labeled distractors and another is surrounded by non-labeled distractors, participants will tend to find labeled target among non-labeled distractors first. And also we hypothesized that the search for non-labeled target would be faster among non-labeled distractors, and in the condition with two targets on the screen, participants will tend to find non-labeled target among non-labeled distractors first. So as the stimuli, we have used these 8 artificial objects and labeled 4 of them with meaningless syllables. Our experiment consists of 2 stages. The first stage was preparing one. Participants have learned the objects and associated half of them with labels. So they watched animations like this where labeled objects were referred by its labels, sorry for small font, and non-labeled objects were referred by its pictures. And after watching 16 animations, participants were asked to complete a test trial. They were presented with all objects at once and were asked to name all objects that have labels. And if a participant does at least one mistake, he or she goes back to watch animations again, but in different order. And if a participant completes the test trial correctly, he or she goes to the experimental stage where they were presented with the visual search task, the trial sequence you can see on the slide. We have conducted 3 experiments where we varied the way of target designation. In the experiment 1A, the target was designated by a picture, like here, and the duration of presentation was 3.5 seconds. In experiment 1B, the target was also designated by a picture, but we reduced the duration of presentation to 2.5 seconds. And in the experiment 2, we have designated non-labeled target by pictures and labeled target by the labels, and the duration of presentation was 3.5 seconds. So we suggest that our manipulations in experiment 1B and 2 will make the task harder for participants, which force them to allow on the labels as an additional source of information, which should increase the expected effects. On the search screen, the target was always located on the imaginary circle, and the distractors were organized in the way that one half of the screen was occupied only by labeled distractors, and the opposite half of the screen was occupied only by non-labeled distractors. there were two types of trials, with one and with two targets on the screen, and participants were asked to press left arrow if they have found the target on the left, and the right arrow if they have found a target on the right. Here you can see characteristics of the samples. 29, 19, and 38 participants have participated in our experiments, respectively. So, the results. The overall accuracy in the trials with one target on the screen was above 94% for all experiments, which suggests that our participants didn't respond randomly and the task difficulty was adequate. And the analysis of the search time for the trials with one target on the screen showed that in the experiment 1A, participants searched for non-labeled target faster, but in experiment 1B, they searched for labeled target faster, and no differences were obtained for the second experiment. But what is more important, that in all experiments, it was shown that the type of distractors which surround the target did not influence the search time. For the analysis of the trial with two targets on the screen, we get the data from the participants who, only from the participants who responded first, the site where they have found the first target. And it was shown that in experiment 1A, participants tend to find the labeled target among non-labeled distractors. And in experiment 1B, participants tend to find non-labeled target among labeled distractors. And no differences were obtained for the second experiment. And the analysis of the search time in the trial with two targets on the screen reveals significant differences only for the experiment 2, and it was shown that participants search for non-labeled target faster. And again, it was shown that the type of distractors which surround the target do not influence the search time. So our first hypothesis was partly confirmed. Participants tend to find labeled target among non-labeled distractors. But concerning our second hypothesis, we obtained an opposite result. Participants tend to find a non-labeled target among labeled distractors. And it was shown that the type of distractors which surround the target do not influence the search time. As we can see, the pattern of results is very unstable, which probably could mean that actually there is no effects, but still we can try to provide an explanation why our first hypothesis was not confirmed in experiment 1B and 2. Well, we know from the participants' reports that our manipulation in experiment 1B forced them to focus on one visual feature of the target and keep it in mind during whole search procedure. And in the experiment 2, our manipulation forced them to do a hard job to recall how the labeled object looks like. So perhaps our participants have focused too much on the visual characteristic of the targets and ignored the presence of or absence of labels. While in experiment 1A, they have enough time to form a search template from a target preview, and they used the presence or absence of labels as an additional feature which can guide their search. So we can check this explanation in following experiments where the target will be designated by a picture and the label at the same time. And if we will obtain the results as in experiment 1A, it will provide the support for our explanation. So.